At this point, seeing what Genya has been through in Demon Slayer the Swordsmith Village arc, the only response that you should have is that he's him and he's built different. Not many people can say they've been skewered and stabbed by demons multiple times only to shrug it off as if you're a demon yourself, and once again highlights why it's so important to always bring the double barrel to a demon fight that is primarily oriented around melee hand-to-hand sword-based combat, because the number of times he pulls that bad boy out and blasts a fool, and I mean, maybe we didn't get to see the crazy reload animation like in the prior episode, but he more than makes up for it with not one but multiple shots, and damn, if I didn't count this boy out far too many times, because he's just continuing to prove that he has something to prove in this arc, and what a beast. You'd swear he was like Eren Yeager in Attack on Titan, just regenerating with his Titan powers, because he is built different. Full live reaction to this insane episode is available on my Patreon. I mean, when you look at the previous season, that red light district, the entertainment district, just the fact that it was one long insane fight, the fact that I already feel like with the tease and the taste they've given us over the past couple of episodes, I'm gonna say I can't believe it, they actually managed to increase it. You go from Mugen Train, you go to entertainment district, you go to this, it's just, they managed to escalate in the proper way. It never really feels like Demon Slayer is trying to one-up itself, but naturally, we understand the basic premise of uppers, right? Upper rank 4 is going to be stronger than upper rank 5, and 3 is going to be stronger than 4. So if we're going up against 2 upper rank demons that are stronger than the ones we've been going up against up to this point, it puts into perspective that it's a more dangerous situation. And when we're reminded of people who didn't make it, like in the Mugen Train arc, or those who did, literally are losing limbs, I mean, we understand that this is a very, very bad situation. And even if we get reinforcements as seen by our girl rushing in ready to save the village as they're under attack by a swarm of those fish, you know, every time you think that maybe they get the upper hand, we're reminded that there's a reason that Muzan of all characters wasn't that fazed by losing an upper demon. He literally was like, had he not been associated with his sibling, had he separated, this never would have happened. This was a fluke, a mistake, but I'm not gonna let it happen again. And if they manage to kill every demon that comes into contact with this village, I fear the wrath that someone like him would unleash on the Hashiras and everyone who's associated, because things are heating up, man. And holy was the animation next level. It's not even just the self-explanatory shots, Tanjiro stabbing a tongue and like the blood flying everywhere, the crazy shotgun blast that blows a demon's head off. It's the smaller moments that I wasn't expecting to go as hard as they did, but man did it add to the immersion. So there's a few different moments where like, there's headless corpses, and the way they snap to the regeneration, it's a little unnerving because you're just seeing a headless demon and then it just like so quickly snaps and it just regenerates like it's just like blinking. I'm like, holy shit, that was insane. But it's the moments where like, there's this one shot with like Nezuko where like the arms are getting twisted and ripped, and just the extra details, whether it's the 3D camera shots really making it feel like we're flying around the sky like Tanjiro, to the immersive details of just bloody body parts. It never really felt like they were trying to be gory, but more so, if you're going up against powerful upper rank demons and Hashiras and the likes are fighting, this is the type of bloodshed and brutality we would expect, ripping off limbs, but not to the point where it became a gore fest, right? But just like the way this team at Ufotable have refined their craft of making Demon Slayer pop in a bloody, brutal, but realistic way for a show like this, just has me excited to see like when they do finish Demon Slayer in a couple seasons from now, like what will be their next big project, because the talent that they have and the quality oozing from a project like this has me really eager to see what they could do next. But the fight, it was crazy, there's so much to it. They even casually dropped some pretty cool bombshells, such as with Mutro, who basically, you know, I've seen some criticism. I'm the type of person who likes the more emotionalist, kind of like, you know, character who feels like they have no personality, but because of everyone else's personality, they pop in a scene. Turns out, completely lost memories, and it kind of paints a picture of like why maybe he kind of felt a little more robotic, and why interactions with Tanjiro or Nezuko are slowly starting to open him up. So I imagine there'll probably be some more interest in a character if you maybe weren't a big fan of him, especially now that he's going out of his way to help a specific person rather than going with the basic code of protect the entire village. But yeah, this was a big action episode and it popped. The music directing was on point and there was just a lot of variety. I really dig the fact that whether it's like almost like a haunted train to then an entire entertainment district just becoming a giant battlefield, to now like fighting a giant winged bird-like demon. It was just so cool to see like how they've escalated from like almost arachnid level demon designs to more bird griffin character designs. It's just really fun that it just feels like this is the natural stepping points and the progression you would go if you're in a world that's kind of haunted by demons. And I like the fact that they're not just giving one character the spotlight, like everyone's going to have the spotlight at different points. I mean, by the end of the episode, prior to the bell being rung saying, hey, the village is under attack, Tanjiro and Nezuko weren't looking too hot, but at the very least, I mean, I'm glad that they are recognizing that Tanjiro is a threat because he's a very quick thinker. So the electricity attacks are obviously a pretty bad thing. Nezuko literally had the pole jammed through her throat and was being electrocuted. She couldn't move at all. So the fact that when Tanjiro drops in like a split second when basically his field of view is covered, he cuts off the talon of the one character so that he can then interact and almost act like a rubber so that more or less he wouldn't be electrocuted. Like just the fact that he can think that quickly after being impaled to the ground, being tossed around, cut apart. They literally mentioned that the durability of the talons are basically the equivalent of cutting through diamonds. So like, the boy's been through the ringer, and even after getting concussion blasts in his ear, he still manages to think on his feet like that. This fight isn't going out anytime soon by the looks of it, and I think the way they're escalating it, whether it's like the fish, I mean, it's a pretty easy defeat once you realize that if you cut the pot on the top, it can no longer regenerate. So how do you make it more of a threat? Well, you send in a good dozen of them, and the general folk, you know, bless their hearts, they're trying, but obviously they're not really cut out to deal with that, which is a good thing we have reinforcements. But still, every time it looks like maybe they're getting the upper hand, it just gets progressively worse for them. But honestly, it feels like the escalation in Demon Slayer is just so much more tightly wrote than a lot of shows where they're just like, okay, Fireball is at 100% power, so now we're going to introduce Inferno Fireball. No, it's just like, this makes sense. They have a basic function of upper rank, so we understand and we can compare, okay, this is why this fight's so much more deadly than season 1, because this wasn't even close to an upper rank 3 or 4, right? It just makes a lot of sense in terms of how they get you to understand the power dynamic in this show, while also showing why characters are not dead yet. Like the idea of Tanjiro thinking on his feet, if I cut the tongue, it takes longer to regenerate. I have enough time to save my sister, right? It just makes a lot of sense. So far, my favorite part of the season is hands down Genya, just because he is a badass and there's so much uncertainty. I mean, not many people can casually say I can hide a tooth that fell out of my mouth, and I'm a little upset that Tanjiro casually had it in his pocket like a freak. But I mean, watching him go up, like there's at least a good half a dozen moments that any other character would have been dead put in his shoes. And I don't think that's an exaggeration, so like I'm interested to see where his character is going to go, how many more crazy double barrel blasts of death are going to occur, but the combination of sword meets gun is pretty badass. And yeah, this was a heat episode that has me saying I think we're about to experience the best fight of Demon Slayer, which honestly it just keeps getting better. Thoughts, feelings yourself down below. Drop a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course ring that bell so you can get notified when I upload on the channel, and like I mentioned, we do a full live reaction available on my Patreon if you're interested. We also give out video shoutouts and other perks like that if it interests you. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.